you?
We are live. Can you see me now?
Oh yeah, I can.
Yes, right? We're going live. Hi. Hello, everybody. Hi. We are live, I think, on every
Hello.
platform. We're trying.
Literally trying
Um,
on the brink of
yes, we are live. I can see. I can see. We are live on Instagram. Hello, everybody. Come on through. We are looking, waiting, hoping you will come on through. I am chatting to the lovely, dynamic, and amazing, of course. She only has up secretly obsessed right now, but we know that hot girl is a hot girl, and her name is Anisha King of secretly obsessed. Hi, everybody. If you are live on our Instagram, we are trying a thing today. So we are on Anisha's TikTok. We should be on my YouTube live. We should actually even be on Instagram for both of us. So give us a shout out if you are joining in, if you can see this stream. Shout us out, say, hey, yes, you are on here, and where you are from, which one of our streams you are on. We are trying a thing to see if all of this works today.
I'm not on Instagram. I don't think.
Okay. Well, I've got up. Restream is on my thing here. I can't see my Instagram. So just keep sending it in if you can. See, it says new comments will display here. So send them in if you want to. Please do. Hello, hello. I see that there are two people in. Shout out to you if you are here. Anyway, let's talk about what we're here to talk about. I just started watching the new Love is Blind for season 7. I really love that it's a Netflix show so you can like download and binge watch it. And I've been grateful that I have been able to binge watch it because I'm watching late.
Mhm.
So it has been so interesting to see all of the dramas in this hot mess that we are calling a show. This season, and what I've learned is that, women, we have hot wait, flashes in so many. Don't mind. For some reason, my Instagram turned on. Um, in my mind, it has been an interesting thing. Like, it's been a show today or this time around. And
100%.
if you're not watching Love and Blind, or you've never watched it, it's a Netflix show, which is basically an experiment. It's an experiment of, for, and about couples getting together and they have to sit in a pod. I see you clap,
Baby
cheek,
oil.
and notice the Diddy picture.
I
Notice the Diddy
decline.
picture.
I decline.
You know what? Any baby oil that I bet you be supplying would be along that Diddy way because the fact you using the Diddy picture says all kinds of things. It says all kinds of things. So
100%.
clapped cheeks, we're clapping back. Hell to the no. Okay. You got a little sense of humor, but not that much. Just saying.
Very concerned.
Anyway, moving along, we are talking about Love is Blind. We are talking about season 7. We are talking about the hot mess of a show that I find this season has been. It's been interesting. So if you've never watched it, as I was saying, welcome to everybody who's coming into the chat. But if you've never watched this show, it's all about taking a series of couples, and in this one I think it was about 15 men and 15 women. You get together, they put you in little pods, and you almost start by like speed dating. But the difference with the way that you speed date in this show is that nobody knows who you are, nobody knows what you're from. Hi, Joanne Hollingsworth, we're welcoming you in. If you've been here, please keep coming in. We are just loving this. Anyway, as you know, when you come in, you have to like speed date, and but you're speed dating without seeing anybody. You are not, you guys don't get a moment to like meet in person. Everything is done with a screen between the two of you. And so what ends up happening is you have these really amazing dates. You date a lot, and or you talk a lot. And the whole premise of the show is to find out if this is a way you can really find love. And this is the seventh season. There have been, I think, some circumstances that have come up before, but I found this season there are some real circumstances that have come up.
100%.
And we
Mhm.
want to discuss those seasons. So, what are you thinking about this show so far?
So, honestly, I learned most about Love Is Blind season 7 on Twitter, which made me want to watch it because I wasn't gonna watch it. I'm gonna be very honest. Um, After watching it, and because it hasn't been intriguing like the last couple seasons. Like the last season I watched was probably the one with the scientists and Lauren. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah,
The scientists are this season. Has there been scientists before?
yeah. Is it Lauren? And she's
Lauren
dating.
was the first season, I think. So Lauren and um let's
I
take a
remember.
look.
I don't remember his name, but
I'm
he
gonna
bought
be
a house
I'm
and things. He did big things, big things, big things.
let me see when that was. So Lauren, Love is Blind. Lauren and Cameron is the what I think you're talking about. They were Lauren and Cameron Hamilton, they were season one. They were the very first season. And they
Yeah,
have been like the success story, guys. They
there you
met in the pods. They're a biracial couple, and people are just loving them up because they really clicked right from the beginning.
yeah.
And I kind
That's
of
the
get it.
only one that I really I was like, yay, team Love is Blind. But then now, like as I watch more and more of these seasons, I'm like, he's just going down the hill and has no breaks, and we might hit something. But anywho, um,
It's been interesting.
when
I've watched a couple of seasons because I normally critique them. So I've watched several of them, and I have found it um I think they've actually gotten better as they've gone along because they're starting to like manage the expectations a little better, I think. But let's talk about what I mean as we move through this. What I mean by that is like the couples before were kind of thrown in there, and I
mm,
didn't notice any real support for what was happening. And
mhm,
they picked like the messiest scenarios. Now they seem to be picking the messiest scenarios still. Don't get me wrong. I'm noticing that it's still very messy,
very messy.
but very messy. But I'm noticing there seems to be much more awareness about emotional states. Like people are checking in more and things along those lines. But we'll get into it. So let's talk about who all of the couples are for this season. Um, I'm looking it up because did I not?
I can remember a couple that comes to mind,
Yes.
and I will say, as I cleared my throat, Leo. And I know everybody knows about Leo. Like Leo is an interesting man that's on Love Is Blind. I don't even know how he was picked. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be
Well,
honest.
Leo was very interesting. Tell me what you think. So Leo is, let's describe who Leo is. And I wish I had pictures. I think for tomorrow, we will make sure we have all of the pictures that we can flash on the screen for you so you can see who we're talking about.
Uh-huh.
I think it's going to be so important
Okay.
to be able to put names to faces. So we will make sure because there's a final reunion show happening tomorrow, Wednesday
Nine
at
o'clock.
on TikTok, and we will, oh, at 9 o'clock. So we will live stream right after it's done, because that's the final season finale, and we want to get all the juicy hot mess out while it's right in the top of our heads. But Leo is an interesting character. He's a young man. I think he's in his early 30s. He came from an affluent family, and we definitely were told how affluent he was. He said that a lot. We heard about how affluent he was
I've
a
learned new
lot.
words actually after he kept on repeating it.
Yeah, it was a lot. There's no doubt. Thank you for letting us know how much money you had. Um,
Every 5 seconds. And the fact that he was like, I don't want people to like me because of it. Why do you keep repeating it? I'm kind of confused. The logic didn't make no sense to me. And the
because
narcissisticness was on a different level of life. Like,
yeah, Leo ended up in a pseudo love triangle with another woman named Brittany. Brittany was someone who I found was very interesting as well. Brittany was able to Brittany epitomizes the whole blonde, blue-eyed, you
the
know,
whole
I she was the perfect, like, I was like, does it, like, how did they find the like, if there was the epitomized, hyper focused version of white beauty, it would have been Britney. So talking the blonde hair, the blue eyes, the ultra feminine, the damsel in distress mode. The She was an esthetician for damn sake. Like, there was nothing. I was like, every stereotype that you could
you hit it.
admit.
You hit the mark. Like one,
I,
two, three.
I
There
was
was
like,
no
this white girl, like, is the stereotype. And it was triggering for me on a couple of levels, because again, you know, we as people of color, as Black women, aren't seen as that epitomization of beauty. And she, however, you could see how she used it to the best of her advantage, mind you, as well. She used it um with her scenario with Leo. So she ended up with he ended up liking this chick Leo. Sorry, she ended up liking this chick Leo, and he ended up liking her and this other woman, Hannah.
That's a whole different situation.
Hannah was also interesting to me. Now, she was also, a blonde haired, blue eyed young woman. She was only 26. So she was, I think, the youngest cast member.
She felt she was the oldest, but yes.
And interestingly enough, she herself seemed to get a lot of attention from very different men, um, which is fine. But I also found her very interesting too, because she was very, I'm the, you know, I'm a strong, independent woman. But she actually quit her job. I don't know if you know this, Anisha. She quit her high paying job to find love. So
Yes,
she
she
literally,
did. I did see that when she said that. She's like, I really want to find love. Like, sis, you couldn't just take a break, take a vacation? Do like you couldn't like what was
she
gonna stop you from finding love? You could have just took a time off.
well, it sounded like their job wouldn't allow for it. So she literally quit to do this show. And I thought, that's interesting to me, because it shows you how in our society that for most people, and I was going to say women in particular, but for most people, love matters more than almost everything else. We really are still a society that
I
wants love in the highest senses of our world. We want this thing called love. And she was willing to literally quit her job and just wait. High views in the world, welcome.
kind of
Um,
that she did that though, because it's like at the end you didn't even end up finding love. So like you really were taking like a risk, not knowing, into uncertainty not knowing if you were actually going to come out with.
Anything. And I was going to say hi, MeWe. I love that you guys came in. We are talking about Love is Blind and the hot mess of this show. That is what we are discussing. We are getting all hot and ready about all of the things because we want to be watching Love is Blind for tomorrow night, because tomorrow night is a reunion show and we're going to be doing a live right after to discuss this again. And what I'm interested in is not the show itself. I'm more interested in talking about how people are sitting in these relationships, and that the way that we are so drawn to this idea of loving each other and what love feels like for us as we are in these spaces. And so what I was just saying was how for one of the cast members, her name was Hannah. Hannah actually quit her job. Like, she quit her whole job to come into this experiment to find love. And I don't know if you guys know, like, I actually really think that the way you do this is not a bad way. I actually am for the Love is Blind way of doing it, to be honest with you. And I'm curious, tell me what. Well, I'm sorry you're bored, dude. And no, I'm not from Africa. Thank you, Views of the World. Um,
What kind what kind
weird.
of
Yeah, that's a weird question. And I can't help you if you're bored. There's other places you can go, boo, if you don't like it. But I want to know what you think. Is Love is Blind good for you? Would you do it? Would you be
You
on
know
Love is
what?
Blind?
Honestly, I do want to do it. I actually do want to go to Love is Blind. However, I hmm. I think that, like, I think we were talking about this as well. Is the timing is very condensed, and for me to say these words and express "I love you" would not be would not be
Yeah.
me. So I don't mind building something and saying yes and like you to the engagement, but I would actually have a conversation, and saying that we can do this experiment, and I get it, but I don't think it will be a situation where we're actually gonna get married at the end. I think
I,
that you
I
find love.
I find that interesting. I think that you do not need to find love. It comes to you itself. Well, what if the ways that it comes to you is to get out there and do a show like Love is Blind? Like, I agree with you. I think love will come to you. Um
If
but
you know what love is,
I think that this brings up that whole point. Do we should we why okay should we like look for love, or do you tailor love? You know what I mean? Do we tailor the environment that brings love into your life? Because these guys, for example, I found what I was really struck with is I can tell all of these folks had been in therapy at some point. Not that it helped everybody, because
I was about to say, like,
it didn't help everybody, but you could tell that there was an awareness in these people. Like, they all use language that is very coachy, very tells me you've been in therapy for a while.
100%. I will agree with that. Like a lot of what Hannah was saying and how she was using the words when she was in her relationship with Nick. And I'm like, my girl, what's so interesting when people do go to therapy? Like, they really take it as like, um, I guess like they sort of like they know better than the person that hasn't gone to therapy, or even if they did go to therapy, like they still feel like they're better than them, which is so interesting. You can see that dynamic with Hannah. Like, she felt like she was so mature and she has her things together. Hannah was one of the guests were on Love is Blind. Did you
Yeah.
watch Love is Blind? Views in the World?
Yeah, I was gonna say what I'm gonna do tomorrow. If you guys tune in, I'm gonna make sure we have every picture of everybody so we can float back and forth between who is what and doing what. Hannah was, yes, one of the characters from Love is Blind, and Hannah was a young woman who felt she knew a lot. Let me put it that way. She was quite bossy, and
Very.
I thought to the point where she really made her man, who she was engaged to, this guy named Nick. Nick had some challenges, but I thought Nick was trying. And she made Nick feel like half a man, like half a man, 2 feet of a man, 2 feet of a man
I
in
felt it
all
for Nick.
ways.
I cried for him every time. So I was like, yo, honestly, I feel like if you want to act like you're the man in a relationship, then you can be the man. But you're gonna be by yourself. You're gonna be by that's why when he put her in her place at the end, I was like, yes, man. Yes. Because she dissed him so many times. She literally like minimized like him like this much all the time. Every time she had an opportunity to do it, she did it. She's like, oh, when I'll show you respect when you act like when you contribute and things like that. I was like,
When you become a man. So we got to give a little background. So Nick is a young man. He was 28 years old. He lived at home. He hadn't dated a lot. He'd only said, because he mentioned only being in love twice in his life.
yeah,
And again, he's 28. I was like, that's quite normal. You
very
know,
much so.
love to be in love with somebody. It's one thing to dick down the world, but it's another thing to actually have meaningful relationships. And most of us don't have, 500. If you say you've been in love 10 times,
We're
I'm
gonna
going
try.
to,
We're gonna put you in therapy.
right? You may you may hit somebody. That's different. I ain't mad at you if you're hitting a lot, do you? But falling in love with somebody, I thought that was a bit odd about Hannah. And of course, he was really trying to be sensitive. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Views of the world. you know he felt like she made him feel often like he was a nothing and a no one. She kept saying because he lived at home he didn't have to pay rent. To be honest with you, I thought she was jealous because her life seemed like it had been a lot harder. She said she left home very early, so she had to learn responsibility. Like he didn't know how to invest stocks and bonds. He didn't know a lot of things, but he was so open to learning about it. And so I thought to myself, I don't understand why she's being so hard on him because he was willing to learn. And in fact, I like the fact that he also was saying, I'm going to let you take the lead. And most men, get caught up in that hyper masculine thing. Now, I also knew he was going to be like a fraud out because he lied about who he was. So, guys, he told us that he was a jock. He played off at the beginning, like when you couldn't see him, he came off like he was a big bad boastia guy, like he was a kicker in football. And he tried to play, they called him Rico Suave in the pods, the girls did, because he tried to play like he was this bad guy, this bad boy, whatever. And I kept looking at him and going, maybe the camera's not doing right for him, but he looks a little whingy.
Maybe the camera's up to
He looked a little whingy to me. He looked young. And I
yeah.
thought I could tell from that he wasn't feeling very good about himself.
He
I could
fit the
tell.
chair. Like he fit in the chair, like the chair that was
The-
provided for them while they were he fit in there like quite fine actually. There was no
yeah.
struggle. So that gives you an example. He did no struggle, but I still respect him because he was very open to the experience. I feel like he still showed Hannah respect. I also did see the dynamic of the fact that he was looking for a confident woman because his mother was that confident woman. He was looking for somebody that can be able to control the situation and sort of take on things because that's what he sees his mom. So
But even his mom was a confident woman, but she wasn't. Hannah, he wanted a confident woman, and his mother's a confident woman, but her mother, all his mother, sorry, was confident from that space of surety of knowing herself. She was a woman of an age and an experience, and she knew that it didn't come from having to, like, I don't got to do a 2-2 punch and show up everywhere and going, I'm confident, I'm confident.
he
She
knew
showed
it.
up as a nurturer.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know how to cook because his mama cooked every day.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
mama cooked every meal.
Yeah.
And so there was this space where it was interesting to watch Hannah try to show up as this powerful woman and of, all the things, but what she really came off as it was a bully.
100%. I despised her throughout the whole show. I was
Did
like,
you?
I'm not going to tell you what you look like because I'm not a bully. But I feel like someone should have put her down to her. Like, I feel like when Nick talked to her, I was like, yes, Nick, give it to she because the way she was talking to him, and every time I was like, yo, you keep on putting this man down. So when he was talking to the girl when they connected at the end, I was like, that's exactly what needed to happen. She needed that reality real quick because
The
sis
way
was,
she was so insecure.
yeah,
I
she was
thought that
very
was
insecure.
funny. I thought that was so interesting. Y'all should have seen her. She got real insecure when this he went to go play on a ducky. They were at the second part of this trip. So the first part you spend in the pods, you get to know each other. You have to get engaged in that moment before you see each other. So there's an engagement that happens even before you guys have seen each other. And then once you guys get engaged, they send you away for like a week long. I think it's only a week vacation
I
where
believe so.
you and your partner can get to know each other. And then after that stage, you guys have to live together. And I think that's done for 10 days or 20 days, I think. And
Yeah.
then you got to decide if you're going to walk down the aisle and get married. Like
I feel
literally, you're
like,
planning a wedding.
I feel like
You're
the whole
literally,
experience is about a month.
yes, it's about
A
a
week
month
in the
fully.
pod, a week in vacation, and about 2 weeks, and then the one week, the last week would be the wedding.
Yes,
Literally a
100%.
month process. Never
And
me.
so you gotta make some decisions real quick. Like it's real quick.
And I
And
feel like
that's
that's
the
what a
madness.
couple do at the same time of getting to know somebody real quick, which puts a lot
Yeah,
of pressure, which brings up a lot of things at the same time. So I guess it makes sense.
it does. It does. Like that's a lot to have like that kind of pressure on there. And sitting in that way of being. I
Yeah,
could only imagine.
yeah,
I also think that for people who are rational. You really have to know who you are to be able to do this in a real way. And because even for the best of us, doing this in a month is going to make you nervous. You really
yeah.
have to understand the process. And that's why for me, I've been quite surprised at some of the responses that we've gotten. So we just told you about Hannah and we started with Leo, but we didn't finish. Leo essentially was another character. He was rich, powerful, and he tried to play the game. He tried to play Hannah and this other girl named Brittany. And Hannah ended up playing the player and ended up with Nick, as we just told you. And we watched him, however, do the quintessential, like I found him so triggering because I've known abusive men. And
100%.
he if we needed a poster child, like the next time I bring it up, guys, I'm gonna have him in a poster child for what are the tactics of a gaslighter, somebody
Oh my
who
gosh. Yes.
he sent Hannah nuts. So Hannah made the decision that she was going to be with Nick, but because she was dating both of them, she said, "Okay, I'm going to be nice and give him like a courtesy, a courtesy let down. I'm going to break off with a courtesy." And then in that breakdown, my guy turned her right around mentally.
Yeah.
It was one of the most manipulative
Yeah.
incidences I have ever witnessed. And I do this for a living. And so I was just, my jaw dropped at how he was able to turn the tables on her. So he in itself, we should do a deep dive into like what are the language that they use and how a manipulator shows up. And for example, he pressured her quite a bit by now saying, because he had always said through their conversations, when he says, "I love you" to you, that's when it was going to mean that he was 100% in. And up until that point, it was only in the second where she decided she was going to walk away. Then he decided to say that I love you. And then he said, you pushed her really hard to and mentioned like how she didn't give him any courtesy to back up or to convince him, and that now, even though he wasn't sure himself, now he wanted her to be much more ingratiated to him, even though she had said to him her feelings first.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this constant backlash where then he made it seem like he backtracked and made it seem like it was her fault for not showing up for him and not allowing him enough time to make a positive choice. Like, it was really scary, y'all, the way that he came back at her.
Even the way that he presented himself in the pod, he's not even conscious of how he was presenting himself. Like, even the way he was getting on his knees and banging on the thing. He was literally giving a tantrum. Like, he wanted her to like feel that energy behind the pod, which is crazy. That's like
he assaulted all the senses. He really assaulted all the senses. And I thought it was interesting because he almost tried to manipulate Nick as well. He was feeding Nick in the background informations about what was happening in their talks and in their pods. And I thought that was also an interesting thing. And I give grace to Nick because he stood down in that. He was very gracious about how that was handled. So what was interesting, and I thought this was Brittany, they were the okay, he wasn't beautiful, but Brittany was beautiful. I thought that those two would have for sure made the 7 couples that would have made it to like that honeymoon stage. So we would have tracked them.
Leo
and Brittany.
Oh, 100% not. When they met and he brought her to the back.
Yeah.
The wraparound that Leo gave Brittany, she was scared. And you could see she was scared. Because there's times where he was like holding in the back of her neck, with her hair. And she was trying to get out. And he was still holding her. Even the way he wrapped her, just scary. Run.
Yeah, he totally gave predatory vibes the whole way through. Right. But I thought they would have made great TV. So I was surprised when they didn't let them go on. Do you know that they went on a separate vacation? So what I'm hoping that we'll get the tea when we get to the next phase of this. I'm hoping we get the tea as to what happened. And I bet you they will. I bet you we will.
I don't think Leo's going to come to the reunion. That's just Brittany, like, I bet you. There's like England. I don't feel like he's going to come. Brittany's going to come.
Yeah.
But Leo.
I don't business who comes. I just want the tea. I want to know what happened in that moment because she left him, right? They broke up.
They needed to.
A couple of weeks later.
They went to Miami.
Yeah, they went on their own separate vacation together, and the vibes were wrong because also it was very obvious Brittany was his second choice. And see, I was interested because Brittany struck me like a woman who understood who she is, even though she played this vulnerable, I'm a poor flower and I'm not that smart. 100%. Brittany wielded her sexuality and her pretty privilege in some incredible ways. And I was very interested to see how that would have panned out. She even said it. She said on the show how she knew that this was what she was finding so difficult about this is she was used to being able to just, bat her eyelids. And what did she say? She goes, I normally just have to open my eyes really wide. I think that was the saying. It's probably not the whole thing, but don't paraphrase me. Don't come for me. I just have to get them to stare into my eyes. And most men fall in love with me. So that's a woman who understood and understands the power of her pussy. Okay. That is
vibes. I was like, what do you mean, sis? Even when she's like, oh, I don't even know how to spell physicist. I was like, sis, you don't need to tell anybody. You could have kept that to yourself. This was not needed to share.
But do you know why she shared it?
She
because
was. Yeah, she
men
was.
love to think that they have a damsel in distress. They want to protect this height of feminine, and women aren't supposed to be smarter than men. So she played all up into those stereotypes, right? Of we're not afforded that, darling. You and me as black women, that ain't our thing. We would not get that, right? We've got to show up as the strong black woman. That's the stereotype that we're allowed. But for her, she could be that, and men would fall at their feet for her, because
Mm,
a lot of men, especially the types like Leo, want to be able to have a woman that they can dominate. And she would have been the happy housewife. She was willing to be that.
yes,
But
she
I'll
was.
also tell you this: she understood her power, and she would have wielded it from that place.
Oh yeah.
She understood how sex works for her, how the her divine feminine works. And a lot of women would hate her for it, because she don't hate the player but hate the game. And I thought she would absolutely turn him, she would twist him at the end. Like, she was the type that would fuck his friend. You know what I mean? Or the
100%.
pool boy. Or the pool boy. He would have a total pool boy right underneath his nose. That's the kind of chick she's like. They would have been an interesting match. That was the vibe I got from her.
I'm
So,
wondering how they even matched in the first place. But
right.
to each his own. To own his
And
own.
then we have another couple that I thought was interesting, is and I haven't watched, like, I'm not at the end yet, guys. I have the last episode where you find out who gets married and who doesn't get married. I haven't watched it yet. I know that Anisha's watched everything. Or you have, right? Okay.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. Didn't miss anything. I know everything that happened.
Okay. Now, Marissa George and Ramses Pershard. I want to hear. I just realized, I just saw the last episode. Ramses has family coming from Guyana. He has family in Guyana. He was
I was trying to figure
Venezuelan.
out that.
He's Venezuelan, is what he said. He was born in Venezuela,
Mm-hmm.
but he had family in Guyana.
Oh,
And
okay.
they were asking, "Is your guy?" Marissa was saying, "Is your Guyanese family coming?" And I was like, "Oh, Bana, that makes sense to me. I'm West Indian too.
Two
I'm of
opposed.
West Indian vibes, and so are you, Anisha." But that it made so much sense. Okay, and don't come for me, Guyanese people. I say this with love, but their fashion sense, I've always find Guyanese people's fashion sense
It's
is
interesting.
is all. We love you though. I ain't mad at you. You love your flash. We there's nothing like Guyanese gold.
The
You can wear
the
lots of it.
the uniqueness.
Yes, they like shiny, and it there's a lot. And I thought to myself, Ramses was that. He was very flamboyant, but he had a sweet soul. He seemed to have a sweet soul. I thought,
Something's up with him though.
what?
Someone's up with him. Someone's up with him. Someone's up with all. There's some behind the scenes that there's something that's just not clicking. Cause what is it that, like, with his relation, with his last marriage and then this one, like, what's going on, buddy?
Well, he got married young, all right? And I often say this, guys, like, who you are at 25, like, this is the other thing. Like, who you are at 25, think about it too, Anisha, because you've got a little age on you now, too. The woman you were at 25
Yes, yes.
is not the woman you are in your 30s,
You know,
right? Right? No,
very true
you don't
story.
think you're different?
However, I don't feel. I feel like if you knew that, how'd you get it so deep? Like, you were asking. So I feel like the conflict between, or like, as the reason why he didn't want to move forward with her is because he felt like his needs were not being met.
He's
As a
needy.
whole, like, he's very needy, and he felt like he was sort of like, if I don't get it kind of vibe, like, then he wanted things on his terms. Like, he wasn't able to share the balance between, okay, I need my space and you need your space. Like, he wasn't able to do that. It was I want to hug you. And if no, we don't need
Very.
to.
So he's the height of passive aggressiveness. He was
Yes.
very passive aggressive. And I'm not surprised because, as I said, I haven't seen the last episode yet, right? Right? I loved her dress. I loved her dress,
Yeah, her dress is
but
beautiful.
I'm not surprised that she probably didn't get to use it because I, he struck me as he puts a lot of emphasis on the physical, which is important. If you don't got good sex or you ain't got if it ain't good, then it is going to be a problem later on. I That's what people pay me big bucks for. If you ever want to set up a session and come see me, that would be a great thing. Just so you know, I'm plugging my own business. But what I'm saying is that I found that you could tell that for him, the physicality, being touched, is how he has validated himself. And so that shows me that he probably has a bit of an anxious attachment, where for him it's very important to have constant reassurance that he's loved, that he's wanted, that she cares about him. He would need a ton of attention, and there's nothing wrong with being anxiously attached. And one of these days, maybe we'll do a whole talk about that. What is the difference between our attachment styles and how we've learned to love? Attachment styles is basically um, a methodology used by psychiatrists and in like psychiatry circles, talk psychology circles, talking about how we've learned to love each other. And there's different types. So there's something called anxious attachment, there's something called preoccupied attachment, there's something called avoidant attachment, which was that other chick, what's her name,
I
what
know.
is her name,
With Tim.
um, Ashley.
Hmm.
Is it Ashley with Tim? Ashley.
I
I think it
believe
was
so.
Ashley. Ashley was like just
Oh,
avoid.
Ashley's with Tyler. It wasn't Ashley.
It was Ashley. No, which one are you
No,
thinking?
Ashley's with Tyler. Ashley's with the guy.
Oh,
Um,
which one that had the this one was wild. They had a whole lot of stuff going on. We'll get there, but let me finish what I was saying. So he had anxious attachment, and I loved them together. I didn't mind his woo woo. I didn't mind any of the, like, he
the
had this
two,
I was
two
talking about,
opposing
the guy.
forces.
I was talking about the Guyanese, the Guyanese mans, them and their
I've
fashion
never
sense.
seen anybody do anything like that.
Well,
I've
well, he had a tail. He had like a. I wish I had a piece of weave handy to give you
It's
guys
like
the impression.
I just feel like okay, I've seen it behind her before. I've
Yeah,
never seen it on the side just chilling. Like it just wasn't it doesn't I would have cut it by accident.
I could have lived with it. I could have lived with it. You know what I didn't enjoy? I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I agree. Placement is everything. I even thought about, like, I got a little peak in the back. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that makes sense. That
Right.
makes sense.
But,
I've
and I've
seen it
thought about
before.
growing a dread. Like, I have thought about growing one. I have. I'm not even gonna
Yeah,
lie.
that's
My
fine.
kids, however, talk. My kids have always said no. Like, my kids said, step away from the idea. Don't do it. Even with the tail,
Away from the idea.
step away from the idea. We love you.
Let's do it.
Right? We love you, and we are going to intervene for now, right now. You know what I mean? They did,
It's
but
like you see my hair and then I was to do two dreads. Does that make sense?
I wish I could show
No.
you. Yeah, I didn't get what it wasn't even that for me. I maybe could have lived with it.
I couldn't. 100%. I'd cut it
It's
back.
ornaments. It was the adornments. Because not only did he have the two, he made them pretty. He made them pretty all the time. It was
You you have to
you-
you have to accessorize them. Can't just have them there flowing.
yeah, why not? Why did we have to draw all kinds of attention to these two odd dreads? That was my thing.
If you didn't know they're here, they are
Right?
here. Just so you know. Just so
I'm not
you know.
seeing your face. I'm just That was me. My ADHD brain went right there. So I
100%. I think everybody went there. Even my sister said there are two opposing forces. Why are you doing curly hair and dreads? I've never seen it. I don't even know a Rasta would. I don't think Rastas were approved. They don't
no,
approve the.
nobody would have approved. Nobody was approving of it. And I was like, okay, Ramsey, you look odd, but I will give it to you, you know? And
I
even
also
when
feel
mama called him out, what
oh
did you
yeah,
think of her mama? Because even his mama called out the hot mess that was his hair. Like, I ain't mad at him. He must get it a lot. Maybe
my
that's why he does
mom
it.
is on a different tip, and a part of me like feels that that mom is very she's a bully. She's a bully.
Mommy, mommy was jaded. Woo!
Mama's
Mommy,
on a different level. She was like, "Yeah, so I need a prenup." Like Mama was talking on behalf of her, like as if she wasn't there. Like I was like, "Okay, so who's supposed to talk? Who's getting married?" Because Mama felt like she was getting married, and Mama wasn't getting married, and Mama has a lot of hatred against men because of her past relationships, and she's
okay.
projecting that in that relationship because nobody was talking to her at all about prenup. She acted like she's a billionaire, and she's like, "I'm not even
And
a
she ain't even
billionaire."
made no. The funny thing about the whole thing is, mommy hadn't made any money yet. Money,
That's what I'm saying.
mommy made no money yet. You know, like
Sis
sorry,
acted like she's a billionaire. Like she got the
Marissa
David.
hadn't made Marissa hadn't made no kind of money yet, eh?
So I
No,
was like,
no,
so what is she prenupping? I don't
yeah, it was
get it.
weird. It was weird. Like that whole thing was strange to me. Um, talk about somebody who needs therapy.
Mama.
Mama needed therapy the whole way through, you know, jaded to the point where she couldn't give anybody anything. Like she just
She literally just sent off everybody. She sent off all her children. Sis, where do you
yeah.
think you sent off your children and then have the audacity to come back and be like, oh, you need to do a prenup? What do you
Mhm.
I don't understand. I don't
Yeah, it was out of place, out of pocket. I was like, girlfriend, I get you wanting to love and protect your children, but you need to love and protect yourself because your kids obviously because they did you I don't know how many kids she had, but like there's a lot of daddies. It sounded like there was a few daddies and thing, and I ain't judgment. I got more than one father for my children too. I ain't mad at you, but you definitely were sending an energy that was your energy, and let these people have their love or not love, let them do them.
even the fact that she called her daughter a bitch. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Stand up real quick.
yeah.
My mom could never call me a bitch. My mom would never call me a bitch. No matter how rude she is, she would never call me a bitch. So
And
I
not to the man I'm supposed to marry. Like what? Call me that in my face. If me and you have that relationship, that's our business. But
on full TV, like you're gonna do it on the full TV. Like you're gonna do it in front of people where people could see that you have no privacy. And your masculine energy just took it's on a different level of life.
yeah, and her hurt. I was like, I see you, girl. I
Yeah.
see you. You've been through some things, and everybody and their children, the dog, the cat, your aunties, everybody around you knows it.
The
Like,
birds.
yeah, right? Like, woo. So that was interesting. And he still stuck around. Like I didn't hate Ramses. I didn't. I just thought again, the pressure of months of taking years of what should be cultivated, 6 months at least is needed for you to build a good relationship with somebody. I
Yeah.
mean, they didn't have that time.
Yeah.
Who else do you want us to talk about? What other couple stood out for you?
I think that Tim and I forget her name, but um what is her
Are you
name?
talking Tim Alex? It's Alex.
Oh,
Tim Goodman
Alexandra?
and Alex, yeah, Alexandra Bird. The Alexandra's the one with the father who had MS. I got to
Yeah.
big them up for a little bit. I got to big it up. I freaking loved Tim's perception or sorry, presentation, the way he went to his mama, I mean, sorry, her family and asked for her hand in marriage. And the way I was like in tears. And I said, before when I was talking to Anisha about this, how for me it was so, it really hit some raw part of me because, my dad's been in my life, but I've never had an experience of a man standing for me like that, like just presenting himself to my parents with that kind of love. And I thought it was very beautiful. So I do respect him for that. What did you think? They didn't make it to the altar. I'm just breaking that down. They didn't make it.
Um, I feel like there's a lot of infatuation in terms of how they connected. Um, I don't feel like he actually like got to know her. Like, and I feel like the emotional may have connected, but the physical did not connect in terms of like what kind of needs that they needed both, and actually understanding each other's love language, because she was also very anxious, the anxious attachment style, and he's avoidant. So those not work. It don't work.
Yeah, work.
It
Yeah,
can't
work.
work. So I feel like that disconnect was already there. Also, she was not really good with her communication, and she's very
I would
hurt.
have given her avoidant and him anxious.
Uh,
He, I would have given him her avoidant because she was disconnected. When
yeah,
his family drove 10 hours.
10 hours, and sis said,
Yo,
"I'm going to bed. I'm gonna head out." She said, "I'm gonna head out." We've done
guys,
enough. Even the fact that how she was when Tim was making was doing the barbecue, and how he was there, like he was anxious, he was nervous, but he still was able to have a good approach and be able to be presentable to their family, and was there present. Sis said, "I'm gonna head out." When is that? When she? But then also the fact that like, what did he expect her to do when he said he was gonna go talk to the parents? Did he want her to just chill out there and just be like, okay, we'll just
you could have done what he did, make some dinner, like show a place. I'm on a live.
oh yeah,
I'm on a live. Yeah, one of the kids just came in. Hi.
yeah, but
No,
I think it's interesting. I think it was interesting to see the dynamic. I couldn't believe sis went to sleep. I was in total shock, to be honest.
yeah, I
And not
thought
only that, showing her room. Oh my gosh, sis, you could have got a cleaner to come and clean your room before that TV went in there.
that's how I knew. There were two things for me. Her disconnect, I found her very unemotional every time he like he wanted her to like move in and lean into him. I felt one, they trauma bonded. I felt that it was a very much a trauma bond because Tim has had an experience where he has lost was he the one? Yes, he was the one who lost his sisters
Yeah.
at a very early age. So the family, for him, family was very important, and he was marred by those experiences, and she held a lot of space for him to be able to process through that, which was beautiful. But again, he had never opened up in that way before, and
Yep.
so to hear him, they spent a lot of time in tears. Like I noticed that she was always bawling, he was always bawling, but
Yeah.
her tears were silent. She was always dabbing them eyes, right? And
Mm.
so I picked up almost immediately that she wasn't necessarily comfortable in her emotions. And then when we saw her bedroom, now another thing is I wonder what has happened to her, because again we saw that it was her stepmother. So where was her, like I don't know, they didn't really mention any kind of
Oh, they did
relationship
not show anything about the mother.
with her actual biological mother, and that's fine too. I mean, it sounds like her mother left her life quite early because her parents had been married for 25 years, and I think she's only 32.
Mhm.
So that means that his stepmother, her stepmother must have been very integral. So no qualms there. But I would wonder what her attachment, like what she learned about this and what she's been through, because her room, normally when you're like a hoarder, or I wouldn't say she was a hoarder, but she was very disorganized. And when you are disorganized in that way, one, you could be on the spectrum, neurodivergent. I'm guilty of it. I'm going to say it right now. So there's no judgments. I'm not diagnosing anybody. But I would believe that there was something going on with her ability to executive function, which is also something that happens in the emotional centers of our brain.
Mhm.
So normally, if you've been through some trauma or you've had some sort of situation, that can be affected. And you could see that by the way her environment looked. Her
Yes,
environment
yes.
felt
But
very chaotic.
she could have called. She has money. She could have called a cleaner.
What?
A
And she
cleaner.
didn't know. That's why I'm saying she did business. The girl did business. The
And then
girl
she had
was
the audacity to bring. I wouldn't even be like, yo, my room is off limits. You don't even need to see my room. I'd be like, just look at the living room. This is it. This is it. The kitchen. That is all. We don't need to see anything else. You didn't
well,
remember your room was like that?
well, the thing is, this is the man you're gonna marry. He needs to understand. But I believe that was also a turning point for him.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. Do you see his house? His house
yes,
was
pristine.
beautiful. He knew what he was doing. It was like a man house. That's definitely a man house.
Yeah, it
But
was a man's house.
that was a man's house. So he's like, I don't even know how a woman would just find a
Yeah,
room.
there was no room. I was like, can we get a flower a pot? Everything like plaid
Let's grow. Let's
and
do a garden
green.
somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, can we put? I got throw in a little pink. Let's find something.
It
You
was
know what
just
I mean?
green. It was just green
And
and
wood,
brown everywhere.
right? Green and brown wood paneling. I was like, can this get any more typical for a man? Why am I seeing wood paneling? I'm literally seeing wood paneling. I was like, wow.
I
You
was
know,
like, it has to be the man's den. Is it called man
or
cave?
man caves. Like, well, that's what he said it was. He totally was that way. But
Yeah.
I really do believe with more time, they might have been able to work it out. More time. It was, I think too, she was very overwhelmed with the whole everything because it moves so quickly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the other thing, plus the cameras.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I couldn't imagine having some of these conversations with cameras beside me here and beside me there. And there's a signature of Love and Blind, which is gold cups. Everywhere there's a gold chalice or a little cup.
It's getting
And
medieval times out here.
very much a medieval times feel. And just like, if we're talking biblical or medieval times, they ain't drinking water, baby. There's definitely wine up in them cups. And so
100%.
how much of this is about that too? How much of this is about they're not sober? All of a lot of what is happening, all of the hot messes happened after events, you know? Um,
Hmm.
we haven't even touched the one that freaked me out that I was so upset about because I liked him. I really, really like me. Um, was it
Tyler.
Steven? No, it was
Steven?
Steven.
Oh,
I liked Steven and what's
Garnett.
his name?
Steven?
Steven and Monica. I think it was Steven. The one
Oh,
that there was a couple, y'all, or a crew where the light skin there was like he wasn't light skin, this white guy
who
who
believes you?
thought he thought he was, bless his heart, he did one of them he did one of those like genetic tests, ancestral tests, and found out that he was like, you know I don't know, 1/5 black. And then he decided he was going to go find his African roots, which I was offended and found affectionist all at once. I was offended, but I kind of was I had an affection for him too at the
You
same
know, it
time.
was so interesting. When you do take it in, there was definitely some type of like you can see that he did have. Um,
100%. He had all black features. He had the
yes,
broad nose. He
yeah,
kind of had the jawbone. He had the brow. His hair was curly. I
yeah.
was like,
He had it.
it makes
He did.
sense.
He did. It was just
It
the way that
so
he
makes
was
sense.
presenting it. It was crazy. I
He
was like,
just ended up with some blue eyes and with light skin. I was like, you, if we darkened you up, you could be a brother. Like you could pass. You know what I mean?
we knight you black. Okay, we knight you because you wanted it
I,
so badly. So you
that's
give
the
it to you.
part.
You don't
That's
give.
the part. I was gonna say, don't go crazy. I ain't knighting you nothing, but I ain't going that crazy. I ain't.
He wanted to be. He wanted to be black. He had to make sure that he let us know that he did the
Right?
ancestry.
He
It
needed the
had to
brother. He was a brother from another mother and lineage and ancestry, and he was coming home. So
make it worse that he's a sex addict. And it took a whole nother a whole nother turn.
that hurt me. It hurt me because I was so rooting for them, eh? I was so rooting. So Stephen was paired with this other woman who was a little older. He was 33, she was 36. She had been around the way a little bit. You could tell. She two beautiful women, beautiful black woman, trophy woman. I would call her what we would say, like she would definitely be invited to the Diddy party. You know what I'm saying? She would have been invited to the Diddy party. She was exotic in her beauty, stunning. And Garrett, not Garrett, I'm sorry. Stephen was more around the way. He was only, not only, he was an engineer, I think, or a carpenter. He was more blue collar. She was a policy lobbyist. So she ran in certain circles. You can tell she was used to being around seven figures and people who run on that level. Um, and you could tell she looked after herself. She was very refined, fit in with that wealthy level of existence. But I loved the way they connected because at 36, she was, as we said, a little older. She was beginning to realize that she wasn't looking or finding the love that she wanted because maybe some of it was very materialistic. She expected, a certain echelon versus looking at a man's heart. And I felt Stephen was amazing that way. I thought he was so loving and so sweet. And I really enjoyed the way he had been to therapy and was,
More therapy though.
he need a whole lot more.
A
Poor
whole
thing.
therapy
Whole,
because
whole lot more. Because
you
like
you got
a bombshell, he blew it up. He didn't even just. So we found out halfway through, and it was so unexpected. They had come off a love scene, then it flips to a new episode, and
quick.
then
I
just,
didn't even you didn't even prepare me.
yeah, I was like blink blink, and then we see her looking drag out. She still got her head tie on for the night,
Not
A
dragged out.
members show up. She looked drug up. The couple cast members show up, and then she's ripping him a new one because
Literally. And she said, send back my Venmo. I was like, God no, sis. Sis said, Venmo my money. Like now.
he had lost his job, and I guess she was holding him down. Yeah, and she was like, "Run back run back
Run
my,
it down. And Venmo
run
it
back my
right
check,
now.
Brethren.
Like she
Run
wouldn't
it
even
back
give him an opportunity to Venmo it. Like she's like,
right here now,
and
right
he
here."
did it. He did it. That's the part that took me out. That took me out. I was like,
What he did? She looked like she would cut him. She looked like he thought she was from Honduras. Okay, she ain't
one time.
playing.
One time.
One time. And what happened, guys, was we found out that he was texting or sexting an old lover of his who I think they were into some freaky deaky sexy things. And there's no judgment on coming from me. I ain't mad at you. Get it how you live. You know what I mean? And you could tell he was very sexual. They both were, though. And I thought they were a great pair because I could see both of them seemed like they were freaky deaky. However, his dumb ass couldn't keep the freaky deakiness to the woman he just got engaged to. No. He decided within days to text and lie about this other woman. So he ended up leaving in big time shame. And we haven't seen him since.
We haven't seen him since. He is missing.
Yep.
We
I
can
was
ask
like, Yeah, it was embarrassing. I was like, disrespectful. You're
He Venmoed the money
disrespectful.
back, and then he got packed up his things. Then, like he knew he was leaving, and he left that same night. His bag must have been packed because I'm just
Right,
kind of confused why it was so quick.
right. Because he was like, bye. It's interesting because again, we talk about getting therapy, but in his case, he needed a whole lot more. I could tell, like, as you watch them, you could see that he was starting to feel pressure. And as sex addiction, I think he got triggered personally. Like, he might have been all the way in really wanting this, but as it went on, it wasn't very different from what I believe Nick might have felt with Hannah, because Monica had a certain standard, right? The whole I want flowers every day. I need her love language being acts of gift giving, as well as acts of service, as well as like she listed
And
what
then
was
the
it,
man,
acts of
then
service.
just lost his job. Like, don't do those things.
She wanted kind words, she wanted words of affirmation, and she wanted gifts. So it was all of those things, acts of service. Like, she really wanted him to make her the center. And that's fine, but I thought she needed to tone some of those things down as well. And I'm hoping that, there was a where I was that she had talked to him and they had had a conversation, and like they had settled it. They were never getting back together, ever, ever, never, ever. But
We're never ever getting back together.
yeah, we ain't getting back. And I ain't mad. But I did love both of them and I wished him all the best.
Me too. Me too, because it was sad. It was sad he had
Right?
the Venmo money back. And I know that was his little last, so she's real wicked still. She's real wicked. You could allow the man with the money? You really had to Venmo it back, eh? That's
I ain't mad at her. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You ain't walking out here with my money. I
true.
agree. I
Sad.
run that.
A little
Even though
eating at that time, so he must have had to Venmo that money back for the food too.
right?
Poor.
Venmo it back. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Right? I really like they had if he hadn't done that one piece, they have all the beautiful things that would have made a great relationship, just in my opinion. They did a lot of things right. And I love to see that sexual connection between them. I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. But he showed signs, even in that
He
he
did. He did try.
insecurities around it. She mentioned it right before we found this out. So ain't nothing wrong with getting your freak on. Just know that you got to get your freak on with your wife.
There
With
you
your
go.
wife.
It's a
With your
little,
wife.
it's a little, it's a little gem for you.
Right? Just everybody know that. Your wife, not some random ex. Don't do that. Especially not when you're in 4 weeks. Like you only have 4 weeks.
Look,
Yeah. That's when it's a bad addiction.
you did
You
one
know,
job.
that's
One job.
something.
You just gotta
One
hold your
job.
head. One job.
Right? And let's go on to talk about Garrett and Taylor. Okay, don't spoil this for me.
Oh,
I don't know yet, so don't spoil it for me.
let's just hear what the basis is. So right now they're in a great connection. They're getting along great. Um, there hasn't been any problems. He's met the family. Mom could need a little help, but it is what it is. I feel like they were a really good couple, very strong. They had good communication. I really didn't have any problems with them. I feel like they're one of those couples that they're just happening. It was just going.
It was they were the epitome of what it should look like.
There you go.
I loved they both had the similar interests. They were both mature. They
Yeah,
understood how to talk and communicate really well. They were
yeah.
willing to compromise. I was like they're ticking every damn box. Every damn box. And
It was done.
again, I think that I'm seeing a little bit of fraying. We definitely know that they're a little older as well. And I can see that there is some challenges around, you know, um, insecurity. Like she's highly insecure. I can see it. I'm
Mhm.
not sure it's not without merit. Um, because he he did switch up in a way that does cause me a little bit of an alarm. So he ended up texting an ex, or an ex
The
texted
ex
him
texted
going,
him,
wait, yeah, the ex texted him going, right? Saying, oh, you're engaged. I think that was it.
I think she said I miss you. She said something that was
Did
sort of
she?
was out
I
of
thought she was just asking about, oh, I heard you're engaged.
I think maybe that is it. I didn't really get what she said. I just know she was really upset. And he said he didn't answer. But then he
And
said
then he did answer though.
he needs a slap. That's what he needs to receive.
That's where the problem was. But I'm also not surprised because his name is still Man. And when
Mm.
I'm sorry, man, I'm not trying to like say anything, but I'm saying it. Y'all don't always think first about, what the repercussions are going to be when you don't come from a total space of honesty, and especially in communication, when you start to unravel like a little bit. And I get it, like he probably was nervous and wanted to downplay it. So, I give that. But it's still a hot mess to come at her with the all that kind of foolishness. Like you came at it with a little bit of foolishness, I'm not gonna lie. So that's where I am. We're just seeing the breakdown. He's met the family. They decided to wait a minute. And up until this point, to me, this could be solved. The problem we have again is the 4 week or 6 week, whatever it is, it's too short a time span for these folks. Like I often wonder if they had 3 months,
Like 90 Day Fiance? Yeah. Hmm.
would it work a little easier? Because the foundations have been set at a really good pace. And now let's go to, who's the other one? We got
Tyler
one more.
Ashley.
Tell me about Tyler and Ashley. I don't care if you spoil them.
Oh,
Did
okay. So Tyler and Ashley, I feel like they had a really good dynamic. I feel like they really knew how to coexist with each other. He was a praying man. Let me put that out there right there quick. Any praying man out there, I'm here, I'm single, I'm ready.
right?
Yeah, he prayed with her every night. When you say you're looking for a praying man, he was praying with her every night.
He
I
would
felt
pray. He was all about it.
he's a God fearing man. You know what I'm saying? Really was about family. He was not afraid of showing any vulnerability. He loved crying. We'd cry together. You know, Tyler, when
Right?
you're
He
ready.
was pure
Um,
balling. I love that about him. Pure
did
sensitivity.
not care. He could have been around his friends. It doesn't matter who it was. He was willing to shed his hair.
Right? If he want ball, he ball in. Yes.
Exactly. I saw it go. I saw it go. But I think the only problem I had was the fact that I guess when they found out that he was a sperm donor, and yeah,
What are the chances?
for one of his
I
friends.
I remember. So this guy, guys, of all the things, when they sat down again, the
Lizzie out
way
here.
they did it was subtle. So the way they set up this scene was she's sitting there going, so why couldn't you tell me about this before? We were in them pods. Why couldn't you tell me? So I was like, oh,
I
that's
felt
what
that
I'm
though.
getting
I
my.
felt it though on a different level because I was like, yo, wait, you had many opportunities to talk about. You were talking about you want kids. You guys were talking about it 3 times. I talked about it many opportunities. When did you feel like you were gonna be like, yeah, I have some kids?
I have a
Like,
mixed
when was it
feeling.
gonna come up?
I have a mixed feeling about it because it's a what like this the scenario was crazy to me. I was like, of all the things the man could have done, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay. I was expecting him to say something about we had a baby. I just found out I got a daughter and she's 16. You know what I mean? Like I was expecting that,
That would
not
have been
not
more. That would have been making more sense to me, to be honest.
how many of us really have a thing where you've been a sperm donor? Like what?
Crazy out here in the streets.
It
You
is
know what's so crazy
crazy
though?
on the streets.
How exactly are all these things coming up and they just come out? and the way that they're coming out is just like we're not even informed. We don't even know. It just pops up like, yeah, the text message happened, and then we got the sperm donor. We got like all these things just come up simultaneously.
I don't understand how she did not how I agree. Like the way it works, if this was a different scenario, I would have been, you know, it would have been understandable. He waited a little, but because of your saying what you're saying, like everything is polarized, everything's happening so fast, he really should have said this to her. Like he should have. There's
You
no
had many
doubt.
opportunities, sir,
Yeah.
many.
You
If you were
should have
praying,
said
to be like,
something.
oh, I just want to pray and let you know that I have some kids. when, when there's many opportunities, and I think she would have been okay with it. I feel like
Well, it
him the
was
way.
interesting. It was interesting because I asked my husband about it, and he was like, "Is this a big deal?" Because for me, what it wouldn't have been a big deal if he was just a sperm donor, but because
Mhm,
he knew the couple.
there was a pre-existing relationship. Makes sense.
That's where, because these kids probably will show up in his life later on,
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, makes
right?
sense.
And so I think that makes some sense to me. But if he was just a sperm donor, would it have mattered?
I don't think it would have mattered. I mean,
Like honestly,
as long as there was like some kind of that was information was communicated, I don't feel like there the approach that he would do it, and I feel like he would have done it beautifully. He did do it beautifully. He's if he spoke to me the way he spoke to Ashley, and he said all the way he said, I don't remember right now, but when he said it, a little teardrop came in my eye because I was like, that's a man. You gave her reassurance. You listened to her. You also explained where you're coming from, that you're wrong, and boom,
right? Boom,
you gave her
boom.
space. She wanted to, she made her decision and you guys had a conversation. But oh my god.
Yeah. Why didn't you tell her early enough? Because to me, it wasn't even about this. He demonstrated that he would withhold things from her. And in a marriage, it is very important that you come correct from the beginning. You got
That's
to come correct.
that's
And if
true.
you don't come correct, we got some problems. And that I get why she would feel weary and why they too, I hope, would maybe not get married, but I hope they continue dating afterwards.
They are
Because
single. Sorry.
oh
You said I can ruin that one. They
yeah,
are
you
single.
could ruin this one. You could
They
ruin
are
this one.
single and ready to mingle. Let me be excited. But yes, they are single, supposedly.
Okay.
After
I'm hoping they linked up after. Like that's why the reunion show guy, which is coming tomorrow night. I'm really hoping that we will see, because these couples to me were valuable, were good people, were like, if they had been not in this box, the way they got together was beautiful. I love love, and I know people aren't perfect, so I get that. But what would it have been if these folks had the opportunity to come back and do this in the real world with the cameras gone? I think a lot of them could work through these challenges.
true. I agree. I mean, these are
And
just
I think
challenges
we,
and depending on how you can be able to navigate them effectively, can work.
because let's be honest, marriage is not easy. Lasting marriages really is about giving and taking. It is about understanding that you are going to have to sit through the worst moments that somebody exists in. It is the worst thing to see and have to learn how much of it you're going to adjust to. Can you also, because what happens normally in a real marriage is you're going to self-reflect. So if you're
Mhm.
seeing the worst thing in your partner, it's going to polarize the experience you're having within. And
Mm,
we have this illusion, and I heard I think it was Ashley. No, it was Tim's mother, who they call him something else. But Tim's mother was saying, we have to become one. We become one. I would argue that that ain't true.
I want to
Your
talk
part
about the fact that his father
was
wasn't
just
like,
like,
he's like, you're right. Is that right? And she's like, he's like, yeah.
yes,
And
right,
anything else,
yep,
you know it. He said no words. He was just like, I'm here as a bystander.
right.
And as a bystander.
What she says, what she says. And that's a thing. That's the
100%.
thing. They always say it's cheaper to keep her. Do you want to be right or do you want to stay married? And
Even
while
with
that
you
is,
demonstrated that. He's like, yo, all I gotta say is yes and say you right and you listen to your mom and you're good to go.
and I
That's
bet you secretly deep down, she hates him for it because she's
oh,
getting no
100%.
emotional support.
Oh,
And
none. 100%.
none, none. And so I
None.
want to talk about that. That is a breakdown of what actually we think will work in a marriage, but it doesn't work in a marriage. Both people need to feel like your partner should be this complement and an enhancement to
Mhm.
your growth, your well-being, who you are. You must continue to grow in a relationship, and so does your partner. When you get to the point where it is just what she says or what he says, y'all are just existing. But to
He
have that passionate romantic love, and I often challenge couples to this. We know a lot of couples that have been together for 30, 40. I know couples that have been together for 50 years even. But how many of them are existing with passion, with that essence of goodness that still permeates, or are they roommates? I know
mhm.
many people, like most of my circle, have been together 20 years and more, but they're more roommates than they are really in love. And what kind of existence is that?
True.
Not a great one.
No.
So I think we've been on for a while. I don't
Yeah.
know who's still here or not here, but this was fun.
It
I think
was
it's fun.
amazing.
And we are going to be doing this tomorrow night, probably around 11 o'clock ish,
Yeah.
11:30 maybe. But we going to get on this because I want to talk about what we see, what happens in this reunion session. I want all the tea, the pasa pasa. I want to know who stayed together, who secretly hit it up after the show. I want
That
to see real life, and because real life means real things. And when you fall in love, I believe with the passion that these folks did, it's hard to walk away. So I'm curious. Let's
I
see what
agree.
it is. And
I'm
maybe not.
ready.
Then again, copious amount of alcohol makes strange bedfellows too.
Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to see all of it.
Yeah.
Ready. Got my apple juice ready.
Right.
I'm
Got my
ready.
tea. And we gonna do this. Thank you for coming out. Put in the chat what you guys think. If you're watching the show, if you're not watching the show, tell us what you think about this. And we can't wait to hear more from you. So thank you for coming out. We'll be here tomorrow night, full chest. We're gonna do it and chat all our shit same way. Much love.
Bye.
Bye.